God. When they say time flies, it really does. Time has wings. Tell me about it. By this time last year, I was standing just at this particular point and my realtor was handing over our keys to us. My husband just got me flowers. There was Bailey's here. We were dancing. Can you guys remember that video? On our possession day when we stepped into this house for the first time as its owners. The house was so empty, yet our hearts were so full. I can't believe it's 1 year already. Oh my God. Before I get ahead of myself, so hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl barrister NEZE, and this is NEZE Peperempe. Since we left Nigeria a few years ago, I've been sharing major parts of my journey with you guys, the good, the bad, the ugly, the highs and the lows. And from my story, so many people have been able to draw inspiration, avoid certain mistakes, learn a thing or two, while some have just simply connected. It has been very relatable to some other people that have experienced what I am experiencing. So I am so happy and glad to be that source for a lot of people. In today's video, I am going to be doing some sort of comparisons between renting a home and buying one. And although I'll be sharing based off my own experience here in Canada, I believe that it will pretty much resonate with almost everybody, regardless of what country you are in or you're watching me from. And I feel like I'm in such good position, like I'm in such perfect position to handle these subjects. For those who have followed my journey, you know that I stayed in 3 different rental apartments within a 1 year period. Crazy stuff. Before we eventually bought ours. So I have that lived experience as a tenant here, as a serial tenant, as well as experience now as a house owner. So I'll be speaking from personal realities and not theories. I am going to be starting this video with the advantages of buying, which doubles as the disadvantages of renting, after which I will address the flip side. Of course, I'm going to balance it, right? Number 1, the psychology of ownership. That's knowledge, that's peace of mind that comes from having yours. Just say that alone, you need to heave a sigh. It is priceless. I know not a lot of people would expect that I will start with this somewhat emotional point. Many may think that I would start with the building equity, this and that, property appreciation part. But I am starting from this one because this one happens to be what's most dear to me, what's most important to me, maybe due to my own personal journey. You know, we as human beings are mostly a product of our experiences. So how one person would react to something based off their past experience may differ from how another person will based off of theirs, right? Where they're coming from. So due to how bumpy our journey was settling in on the logistics part, how much moving around and jumping around we did, this our home being the 7th place we stayed in, technically, the emotional comfort I got, my husband got, my children got, settling into our own home is far deeper than money. Now, generally speaking, when you immigrate, you lose a lot of things. You lose your familiar life, you lose your community, you lose your properties. Many people sell off their homes, their lands, their cars, their assets, and they come to this new place to start afresh. Somehow, you may have this feeling of not having settled fully, like you're still just transitioning, trying to survive. And owning a home can change that psychologically, from that feeling of surviving in the country to belonging in it. And I do not know if it is just peculiar to we Nigerians, because on the average, a Nigerian who can afford it will rather buy and own their property. That's just how we think, that's just how we are. It's almost cultural for us. So renting for us can feel very temporal. And the truth is that even if you have a very good landlord, wonderful landlord, there is still that quiet awareness that this is not mine. As a typical Igbo man will put it, I did another man's house. I remember as tenants, oh my God, my children, they couldn't breathe and drop cup. I was always like, hey, be careful, don't scratch something, don't move, don't spoil something, don't do that in the house, don't jump, don't breathe. I was always ensuring that they do not spoil somebody's house. I don't want wahala. You understand? I was so apprehensive that they don't dent the wall, they don't use a marker head, they don't spoil the gas, they don't do this. But here at home, even if my toddler colors the wall, it's not like I'm encouraging it or I'll be happy with her for doing that, but I'm not running to Home Depot the next hour to go and immediately repaint or go and fix or go and do this, you know. I'm not overtly on my toes worrying about spoiling somebody's house, you get. I remember our first rent, our Indian landlord, our first rental property, and the one of the clauses in the lease agreement was that he was going to be coming for inspection every 3 months. Now, mind you, aside from that quarterly inspection, there were other reasons why he needed to come in to check this, furnish this, tap this. So he was always in the house for one reason or the other. And him and his wife will come for inspection with their book, looking up and down, entering the bedroom, the matrimonial room, the closet, you know, ensuring. It was so nerve-wracking and so uncomfortable for us. You know, that space, that privacy, that autonomy, you can't really have it in rent. But owning brings some freedom. It can lower your stress in ways that nobody can even explain to you. Your nervous system relaxes, and it is very, very symbolic, especially for new immigrants leaving your home country, your job, rebuilding a new career, starting your credit history from the scratch, from zero, and navigating all of these systems that you were not even used to, you didn't even understand. So going from that to owning a property, it's like having evidence that all your sacrifices meant something after all. It validates the whole journey, and that emotional payoff can be very significant. It doesn't just stop with you. Even the children experience that stability, that joy, that this is our own house. For me, this is the number one advantage of owning over renting. And I cannot even begin to quantify in words what this means to me and to my family. So yes, the emotional and psychological fulfillment that it comes with is the number one advantage of buying over renting. Number two, you are building equity instead of paying a landlord. Okay, shit is about to get real. We have dealt with the emotional and psychological gains of buying over renting. Now let us get into the cocoa, into the main gist. But before we do, hey, quick reminder, if you're new here, you're seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop all your thoughts down in the comment section, your experiences, your desires, what you're looking forward to, everything down in the comment section, and stay glued for we have so much more coming your way. Don't forget to join our premium channel if you want to get very, very quality insights around love, life, relationship, marriages, and all of these things that can make us well-rounded, wholesome, better versions of ourselves. Scan this code or click the link down below. So yes, I just mentioned the second advantage of buying over renting, and I said building equity. Now, building equity is the financial core of the buy versus rent conversation. Many people even consider it the most important point. So let me explain how this goes. When you take a mortgage to buy your house, your monthly payment is divided into two main parts, right? The interest part, which is the cost of borrowing, what the bank or the lender charges you for giving you the money to purchase the house. And you have, on the other hand, the principal, what the property costs itself, and the portion that reduces what you owe. For every time you pay that principal portion, your ownership in that property increases. And that part of the ownership that you have is called your equity. So in other words, your equity is the value of your home minus what you still owe the bank. I would explain. I'll give an example. So if your home is $700,000, for example, and you put in $70,000 as down payment at the beginning of that transaction, you already own 70,000 in that house from day one as your own equity. So that is equity, what you own, your part in that house. That's why in Nigeria, we don't call it down payment, we call it equity contribution, because you're contributing to your own equity. And as you make your monthly payments, the loan balance slowly reduces, right? While your equity will be increasing, because as you are paying more, you are owing less. Simple logic. And if God bless you, the house value rises, your equity grows even faster. So for example, you buy a house of $500,000. You bought the house 4 years ago and you have paid $100,000 out of that 500,000, right? Today, maybe that home is worth 800,000. That additional 300,000 that house has appreciated to, in addition to what you have paid, is now yours, is your money, is your what, is your equity. Okay? But when you rent, your monthly payment is purely expense and zero equity. So after 1 year, after 10 years, after 20 years, you own nothing from these payments. You just paid for shelter and that is it. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that if that is how you want it, if that is how you've structured, you've planned your life. What we are doing is pointing out pros and cons, right? And we will still address the downsides of buying. Of course, everything that has an advantage has a disadvantage. We're going to still address the disadvantages of buying over renting and the advantages of renting. So what I'm trying to explain is that from a financial point of view, paying rent does not build assets, it doesn't build equity, but owning a property does. And you can even look at it from the angle of helping you save. Like saving that money by throwing it into equity instead of you saying, oh, let me save it myself, then tomorrow you can't touch you can't touch the savings. So it's like helping you save. So paying for your mortgage, the principal part is like investing, because that money on the principal part is yours. You can use it to do many other things. You can refinance to access capital. You can even use it for renovations of the house. There's so many options and leverage that ownership creates that renting does not. And that is why people who are pro-buy would say, I'm not going to help another landlord or another man pay his mortgage, because renting builds your landlord's equity while buying builds yours. So to wrap up this point, let us look at the long-term effects like this. If someone owns for 25 years and they pay off their bank mortgage, they would have a fully paid house, no monthly mortgage payments, and a major asset worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if a person who has rented for 25 years at the end of that period still has monthly housing payments to make and does not own anything, so while owning can remove that expense eventually, that expense of paying for housing eventually, renting never does. And this expense gets more and more significant as we get older, as we approach retirement, as income shrinks, because housing is usually the biggest expense in life, usually. So that is another point there, equity. And I think it's a good time to mention here, in case I haven't, or in case you do not know, if you're looking at buying a house in the whole province of Alberta, be it Edmonton, Calgary, and its environs, and you are looking for a reliable, dependable, intelligent, performing, experienced realtor, then look no further. Mr. Chris here is your guy. He is the one that helped us to get this place, and I cannot even begin to imagine the role he played in the whole process. Let me just say he possesses all the skills that an excellent realtor should possess, from patience to experience to connection to everything. He's just your guy. So you can reach out to him, contact him, tell him you're from NEZE, and he will help you. Even if you're not in Edmonton, he has helped people who are in other provinces buy a house here, even without them being on ground. He is wonderful. So please do reach out to him. Number 3 advantage of buying over renting, I'll just call it freedom to customize. To customize your space. Ownership undoubtedly gives you full control over your home and over your environment. So you can shape your house around your life instead of adjusting your life to the house. Now, when you're renting, you're obviously living within someone else's rules. Major changes are usually prohibited. It would be in the lease agreement itself that you dare not carry out major changes in someone else's house. And even small changes, small modifications often require permission. You cannot just do that. So as a renter, you lack that decision-making power over where you live. But when you buy, you are living within your own rules. You can choose to repaint if you don't like the color. You can choose to remove this wall and make it an open space for any reason. You can choose to upgrade your kitchen. You can choose to remove rug and put wood, convert your garage to a gym. You can add fixtures to your room and turn it into an office space or a studio space. Your options are just limitless. When we bought, we chose the kind of landscaping we wanted, the kind of flowers we wanted. We even planted an apple tree at our backyard. We did a lot of things that we would ordinarily not do if it wasn't our property. And it's just common sense if we were renting. So that freedom to customize your space how you want it to your own comfort and liking is a major advantage of buying over renting. Number 4, you can turn your home into a revenue stream. And I feel like this is a major advantage for buying because it can move one from just getting a place to live to being financially strategic. So if you buy a house and it has a legal basement suite, that's a basement that has its own furnace, its own separate entrance and all of that, you can develop it, or you can buy one that already is developed, and you can move from being a homeowner to being an overnight landlord, right? You can choose to rent it to make it an income generator for you. And that rental income can cover a very large portion, your monthly payments. So let me break this down for us. Imagine that your total monthly payment, your total housing cost expense is 2,006, maybe 2,002 for mortgage and 400 for tax, property tax and home insurance. If you rent your legal basement suite for 1,300 per month, your housing costs will drop from 26 to 13. That is huge. That means that you are living in your home at half the cost that you would ordinarily have lived in it. So the rent is not just covering expenses. It's not just covering expenses. It is helping you pay down your mortgage principal, which means that somebody else is contributing to building your own equity. You can even use this space for maybe Airbnb. There's a lot of money in Airbnb. If you do not want someone to be permanently living there, maybe you want to leave it open so you can get freedom to use it how you like. Maybe you're expecting to host family and friends. You don't want a tenant to permanently be there. You can use it as Airbnb. So anytime you want to block it off, you block it off, use it for your own use instead of paying for a hotel for a guest. So instead of thinking of owning a home as purely an expense, then when it generates income, it can become an asset that produces cash flow. And even when the mortgage is paid off, you can still be living up at the upper part of the home for free, like in the main building, and still retain the basement as an income generator for you. That's like supplementary retirement income. Isn't that amazing? Renting will not provide you that opportunity. So yes, that's another advantage of buying to renting. Number 5. Stability. Another advantage of owning when compared to renting is what I would call stability. For me, stability is not just about having a roof over your head. It is about predictability. And I said for me, when you rent, your stability is not guaranteed. Your landlord or your landlady can decide to sell the property. They can decide to choose to make use of the property for some other reason. Oh, my family is coming, my relative is coming. I want to make use of my property. It is theirs. They can choose to increase the rent, of course, within legal boundaries. They can choose not to renew your lease at the end of the tenure and destabilize your whole life. There are plenty of uncertainties when renting. Remember what happened with our first rent? I gave you guys the gist with our first landlord, the Indian landlord, the disruption that it brought to us when continuing with the lease was no longer on the table. And just a few months into coming into a new country, we had to start moving. carrying things, offloading and loading, changing schools for the kids, daycare, finding a new daycare, changing our addresses, postal address in the bank, CRA everywhere, hospital, changing our driver's license address, finding a new hospital, changing social clubs, changing school bus. It was a lot. It was a lot. Even that I'm mentally stronger, man, I would have broken in this country. And you can imagine how many times I had to do that. We had to go through that. So the enormous stress that it brought upon us, it's not something that they use mouth. If you have experienced moving once, within 5 years, then imagine moving 7 times within 1 year space. That is capable of making anybody run mad. So that is what renting can do. But with owning, except something very major happens, you can make long-term plans around your vicinity, knowing that the foundation of home is guaranteed. Now, I'm not saying that ownership completely eliminates all life changes. No, what I'm saying is that it significantly reduces that abrupt forced relocation that can come with renting. And for me, that is a huge one. As a family with children, jumping or having that fear or anxiety that, oh, what if my landlord refuses to renew? Because I called and I complained about 1 or 2 things and he's like, oh, your wahala is too much, come and be going. so when something is wrong, you wouldn't even know how to put them out and call again because you've called 2 times this month. That is renting for you. So number 6, which happens to be our last point in today's video, property appreciation. So one of the biggest long-term advantages of owning real estate is appreciation, meaning your property increases in value over time. At least that is what is expected, right? And truth be told, in many Canadian cities, especially in growing markets like Edmonton, where I stay, Calgary, Toronto. What happened to that city at the end? Okay, Toronto, Vancouver. Property values have historically trended upwards over time. So you buy a home for, say, $550,000, and 4 years after, that home is going for as high as $700K. Can you imagine the equity that you have built? Can you imagine that? I didn't even realize how real this gets until we bought ours, and just 1 year after, it has grossly appreciated significantly. My husband and I were just discussing this a few days ago. We're like, hey, thank God we did buy when we bought instead of waiting. So just imagine in this example I gave you, you didn't do any business. You didn't jump into any risky investments. You didn't renovate. You were just on your own, living your life. And just because the market moved, you have an extra $150,000. You are $150,000 richer. So you can imagine selling at that time. That's some wealth built. In renting, it's the homeowner that gains this equity, right? While the renter simply just keeps paying rent. And that's a major point to note. So, yes, my darlings, these are the major advantages of owning instead of renting in Canada, which I believe applies to many other places. But remember that you cannot, as I always say, you cannot have your bread buttered on both sides, right? If you butter this side, you have to use this side to close it. So you cannot have your bread buttered on both sides. You cannot eat your cake and have it. Everything that has pros will have cons. Everything that has advantages certainly comes with its own disadvantages. So we just live by picking our own poisons. Is it not so? In our next video, we're going to be doing the flip side of this one. We're going to be opening up on the disadvantages of owning and the advantages of renting to owning, right? And by the time we are done with the second leg of this video, you'll be able to have a holistic perspective and make an informed decision on whether owning or buying is better for you, given your peculiar position. Given what your own peculiar position, because what is practical for A might not be for B, right? So when I do this two analysis, you'll be able to make your own best decision. Stay glued and watch out for that word. And do not forget Mr. Chris Okolise that I just introduced to you. The guy is wonderful. He knows his onions, he knows his pepper, he knows his Maggi, he knows his job. And I like the fact that he can relate to us as a people, and while having spent so much time here, so he has that groundedness, that customer centricity of someone that has practiced here for a long time, while having that street smartness and relatability of a proper African guy. So it's just the best of both worlds. He's going to help you if you want to buy a house within Alberta and its environs. Do not also forget to buy a copy of our book, The Unbroken Spirit, if you are yet to read it. It is life-changing. It's going to teach you so much. There is so much you're going to get from it. All right? So let's bring this video to an end. Thank you so much for watching. It's me, your girl, Barrister NEZE. NEZE Peperempe. It's been long I said that. Oh my God. And this is NEZE Peperempe. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye. Mwah.